language review, Swedish. And here's the thing, I want to pick up Swedish. So he's now, do remember guys, for those who don't know, Language Simp is a comedy channel. Some people like his humor, some people don't like his humor. I think it's funny. His video in Italian and called it heterosexual French, and that freaking killed me. That was one of the best jokes that he ever made. Regardless, some of his videos are really good. Yeah, it was something like that. And so it was great. Anyways, some of you didn't like the one about Dutch, but then again, the French one was glorious. I'm curious to see this one about Swedish. So without further ado, let's have a look. Again, I'm not going to watch the whole thing, but I'm curious to see what kind of jokes we're going to get. Let's go.
Och vad händer är ni välkomna till min kanal. Jag heter Språksimp och jag kommer från Amerika. Idag ska vi snacka om det svenska språket brors, otherwise formerly known as Ikeanese, Greta Thunbergian, Meatball, Minecraft language, PewDiePieanese, Femboy Norwegian, or Sober Danish. This is the 15th episode of Language Review, a series where I go through the languages of the world and review them, sort of like a film critic or a video game reviewer, but for languages, specifically from the perspective of a language learner. I'll discuss who speaks them, their grammar, their difficulty, and tons of other stuff before finally giving them an official Language Simp certified rating on the Simp scale. If you enjoy—
Okay, look. I think we're starting strong with Swedish, guys. I think we're starting strong. This is pretty good. Sober Danish. I think it's starting well. Now, I am still gonna complain that GigaChad used to have a purple color and now it's green. And I strongly tell you, I resent Language Simp because of this color change in the palette, since purple is the most expensive color in the Roman period. So I think this was perfect when it was purple. I don't know if we have to do some kind of signature or something, but we'll see. I'm gonna say he's gonna put Swedish in GigaChad. Last time with Dutch, I guessed it. For Swedish, my guess, I haven't watched it. There is no red line here. I haven't watched it. It's either gonna be Alpha or GigaChad. I'm gonna say GigaChad, but I could be wrong. We'll see.
If you enjoy this video, let me know in the comments which language you'd like me to review next, and without further ado, nu kör vi.
I want to learn Swedish. Switzerland looks so cool.
Oh, no.
I really want to visit.
Yeah, looks real nice with the mountains and stuff. Wait a second, it's spoken in Sweden, not Switzerland. But honest mistake. Every year, over 100,000 people ask Google if they're the same country, and even our former president couldn't tell them apart. But yeah, Swedish is mainly—
Are you joking? Wait, I did not know that. Maybe because I'm European and I literally been to Switzerland like 5 or 6 times.
same country, and even our—
Biden mixes up Switzerland, Sweden, jokes he's anxious about NATO growth. Well, in this case, I think it's because of senile. Like, the guy was senile anyways. I don't think it's... Do Americans know? I don't think that geography is the best subject the way it's taught here in the United States. I love America. God bless America. I got my American flag here somewhere. But I'm gonna be honest about it, guys. I don't think geography is your best. But in this case, I think it's a situation of the man being senile. All right.
our former president couldn't tell them apart. But yeah, Swedish is mainly spoken by about 10 million IKEA employees in Sweden, a country that looks like a... oh yeah, giant chicken tender located just across the river from the greatest country ever, stretching all the way up to the North Pole. There they have universal health care, free education, parental leave, great elder care, unemployment benefits, and it's ranked one of the best countries to live in the world.
Wait, that sounds great. What's the catch?
They live in igloos, they're often attacked by meese, and they only eat lightly salted dead fish.
Yikes. Let's stay here in Florida. Everything's normal and safe here.
Many people assume that everyone in Sweden is blonde like PewDiePie, but only about half of them are. However, if you're blonde, you're by
Only about...
default born with the ability to speak Swedish. It's in there, I promise. Look under your skin.
Din mamma luktar.
And if you bleach all your body hair, you'll automatically be able to speak fluent Swedish. And as of August 2025, Mojang has not yet patched this glitch. Then if you cross the Gulf
This is
of
pretty good.
Bosnia, you'll find another 300,000 native meatball speakers in Reindeer Land, aka Finland. Most are spread out around the country, but there is one region known as A Circle Land where the predominant language is Ikeanese. This place is
Really?
ethnically Swedish, but they benefit from being an autonomous region of Finland with a bunch of tax loopholes, so I think they're just suffering from a case of Helsinki syndrome. Mainland
well played.
Finnish students are forced to learn PewDiePie-nese as a second language, which seems like a weird choice to me given how Finland shares quite a larger border with Norway, who arguably has a much more useful and global language. But outside of those two countries, Swedish is practically useless. There are about 300,000 additional native-speaking NPCs scattered around the world, with 75,000 being in Freedom Land, mainly in Minnesota, a state that no one has ever even thought about once. So the only real
Wait, is this real or is it comedy? Sometimes with him it's difficult to understand, but if that's true, it is the most random fact ever. Like literally, in Minnesota you've got Swedish speakers? Did he say 70,000? That's insane.
use you could get out of learning this language is reading product names out loud at IKEA to impress the single mom of 7 freshly out of a brutal divorce who is shopping next to you. Like, this is not a bed. It's a stjärna. This is not a lamp. It's a and this is not a mirror. It's a Frebro. But how often do you realistically go to IKEA? If you're anything like me, 3 times a day max, so it might be hard to justify learning sober Danish. Well, I guess Swedish would be useful if you traveled to Sweden. If you're anything like me and you want to travel to foreign lands to practice your languages, you should check out Saley, who I'd like to thank for sponsoring today's video.
Thank you, Saley.
Now let's talk about the different dialects of the Swedish language. But let's first address the elephant in the room. Many people believe that Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish are all very similar languages, or...
Stop it there. All right, guys, let's do which is the better looking, the best looking flag. I mean, this is just the English flag upside down. I kind of like yellow and blue. What do you guys think? I mean, yellow and blue is kind of a cool connection. It reminds me of The Simpsons.
Maybe even dialects of the same language. But the honest truth is that they're all most likely just dialects of Icelandic. And I deserve a Nobel Prize in medicine for having the courage to stand up and say that publicly. But let's ignore all that now and pretend like Swedish is its own language. For a lingo spoken by a handful of furniture salesmen, Swedish surprisingly has a ton of dialects. In fact, there are hundreds of them, so we'll focus on groups of dialects instead of specific ones. First of all, there are the Svealand dialects, which are spoken on the strange bulge coming out of the side of Sweden, including the...
Alright, so the section with the dialects, I'm going to leave it to the original video. Let's give him a like, and if you want to see the dialects, do check it out. I'm going to skip it. Writing system. We have to check writing system. It's going to be hilarious. I know it's going to get hilarious. 100%.
Who really cares? Now let's talk about the writing system.
Please.
The Swedish alphabet is written in a plagiarized version of the American script with 29 letters instead of 26 the way God intended it to be. And the 3 additional letters come in the form of 2 extra A's and 1 extra O at the end of the alphabet. This is a huge no-no. I passed kindergarten. I never quite learned how to stop shitting my pants, but I learned that A's and O's do not come after Z.
He's right.
Stop calling them separate letters. Their plain versions already exist in the alphabet, so these are just accent markers. The A with a cookie on top makes the O sound, while the A with a pair of nipples on top
That's a donut, not a cookie, come on.
makes the A sound, and the O with the nips makes the sound. Now let's practice those.
Please.
Was that any good? These noises are insane and make no sense. They'll take you multiple fortnights to learn, and they might even give you a hernia in your tongue. Look at this word, meaning a drink made from yeast fermented malt flavored with hops. So the nippled O is supposed to sound like the I in bird. So bird. It sounds like I'm in agonizing pain. Then the J makes a Y sound, but the G also sometimes makes the Y sound. What? But sometimes it's a normal G? This feels like rocket science. And then the Y itself has this quirky, uncomfortable ass sound that makes me feel like that little goblin thing from Lord of the Bracelet. But
I think, oh, Lord of the Bracelet. I think that's in the capital. I don't know if like southern Sweden has that sound that he's talking about. I'm aware of that.
truly nothing is as weird as when you start to combine the letter S with literally anything.
Please.
How do you think you pronounce this word? Give it a try. Stjo? Stj? Sjo? No, it's hue. Yeah,
No.
for some reason the SJ is a weird wispy H, so this sentence would be pronounced man. Now let's put together everything we learned, class. Let's give it a try. Let's try to pronounce the word nurse.
Not a chance.
As you can probably tell, Ikeanese is not the easiest language to pronounce, but learning the letters is only like 25% of the battle. One of the biggest pronunciation quirks you'll need to get used to is what I call the PewDiePie pause. When a word has 2 or more syllables in Swedish, there's often a strange, exaggerated pause between them. For example, the name of the Swedish language is not svenska, it's svenska. I feel like I'd forget what I was gonna say mid-word. I'd be like, wait, what was I gonna say? Then a word like beautiful isn't vacker, it's vacker. It's like a little glitch or a double jump in a video game.
I kind of like that. It sounds, particularly from the point of view, because English is quite flowy. I think Italian even more. In fact, this is often a problem. My wife has been learning Italian. She's doing really well. But she often tells me, I never know when you end a word and begin another, because we are very... And the problem with Italian is that often our words begin with a vowel, but the words also end with a vowel. So everything connects, right? So if I were to tell you about, this is the phone that I bought 10 days ago and it's really nice, it was going to say in Italian, I would say, questo è il telefono che ho comprato 10 giorni fa ed è molto bello. Ed è molto bello. So it's like a lot of this is, again, there are words that begin with a consonant, but we always end with a vowel, so they connect. They connect. So to me, it sounds very foreign that they are cutting it like that, and I like it. I actually like it a lot.
But actually, they're probably just lagging because Swedes live in the North Pole and must have terribly high ping. I find it especially interesting when you look at cognates that exist in both American and Swedish.
Okay.
In American, the syllables are smushed together like information. But in Swedish, the syllables are so clearly separated like information. Yeah, don't ask me why, but the shun in American turns into hoon. So if you put together that Lord of the Rings sound with the hard syllable separation, you can do a pretty banger Swedish impersonation. I'm from Sweden. Hoon. I wish I was from Denmark. Hoon. High taxes.
Oh, I don't know. Are Swedish good sports? Because of course he's joking. But, not every person gets it. So how are Swedish usually? I know Romanians can be good sports, but sometimes they get annoyed with things that they shouldn't. But I love Romanians, so I don't particularly care. Who else is a good sport with making fun of accents? I don't know, but I don't know how the Swedish are.
But then there's another absolute curveball that makes Swedish pronunciation even more challenging. Believe it or not, sort of like in Japanese, Swedish has pitch accent.
Let's go.
Now I know all the anime otaku, blue-haired Yu-Gi-Oh! Weeb people just got excited, and they should be. This shit's pretty weeb-pilled. For anyone who doesn't know, pitch accent is when syllables have different tones on them, sort of like Chinese, but syllables instead of words. First in Swedish, there is accent 1, and this goes from high to low. Right. So the first syllable has a high tone, and the second has a low tone. Right. This is the case for the word banana, which is therefore said like banan. Then there's accent 2, which goes from
low to high to low.
So if you
Right, so it's like the middle pattern in Japanese. This is fascinating, actually.
You take the same exact word, but this time say it with the grave accent, it sounds like banaan, which means railway track.
I don't think that's a good example of that, but yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I know I butchered that,
There we
but
go.
railroads and bananas are only differentiated by some arbitrary change in pitch. That's crazy. Swedish zookeepers have historically also been horrible at pitch accent, which means monkeys are constantly being fed railroad tracks in the Log Island Zoo. But if you're afraid of railroads, just learn Finnish Swedish because they don't have pitch accent and
Do you guys like Finnish? The Finnish flag? What do we think? What do we think of the Finnish flag? Come on, guys, let's go. I kind of like it. The Finnish flag is nice.
unrelated, but Finland is also further away from England, so it's a win-win. Oh, and Swedish additionally has word stress as well as long and short vowel differentiation.
Oh my
So
God.
if you want to speak this language well, you've got to do some ungodly things with your mouth. And before I wrap up the pronunciation section, I want to correct all you Americans out there who have been calling it IKEA your entire lives.
Ooh.
Since it's a Swedish company with a Swedish name from Sweden, it's actually pronounced IKEA. But how does the Swedish language sound in general?
Okay, we need to find that one out. I need to know now. I need to know. Let's see if Google Translate gives us... No, you know what? I'm going to do this. 1 second. How do you pronounce IKEA in Swedish?
This is how you pronounce IKEA in Swedish. IKEA.
IKEA. So you basically kind of say it removing IKEA. Cool. In Italian, I would read it IKEA. So similar, but with a different accent, of course, probably pitch being involved. But it's kind of closer to the way we do it in Italy than in English.
Well, it's got a feminine Italian rhythm coupled with a German masculine...
Oh my gosh, I didn't know. Oh, that's amazing. I just said it's similar to the way we do it in Italy, and he said that. Good job. Yeah, it was good.
bass, which is a pretty nice fusion if you ask me.
Yeah.
All the things we just discussed make it flow like a river, even with the harsh, scary noises it contains. But ultimately, you just can't get away from the fact that Swedish is a Viking hinga-dinga-durgen happily Feriksen day language, which is really unique and admirable. When you think of Viking...
I love that. Also, those are from Storyblocks. He downloaded this from Storyblocks. Nothing wrong with it. I use it too.
Vikings? You think of all the Nordic, Scandinavian welfare states or whatever you call them. But Sweden is home to the bubbliest and most approachable Viking language. I know other living languages are technically closer to Old Norse, the language actually spoken by the Vikings, but Swedish has that bouncy metrosexual Viking edge like, I like meatballs, that I can't help but enjoy. So yes, I think the Swedish language sounds beautiful. Unfortunately,
Me too.
I'm not too familiar with Swedish music. They all just seem to sing in American anyway. But some of the best Swedish artists, in my opinion, include ABBA, Young Lean, Tovlo, and screw it, I'll admit it, whoever made that annoyingly addictive Crazy Frog song. But the craziest thing about Sweden and Swedish ain't no frog. It's the vocab. The first Swedish word you should learn is the simplest. And it means island. You might think it's absurd to have a one-letter word mean island, but Sweden has 287,570 islands, the most in the world. For reference, Vatican City has 0. So back in the day, Swedish great-great-great-great-great-grandmothers saw something floating in the water and were like, ah. And then they needed to invent a greeting. So they said, screw it, we'll just copy the Americans for this one. So they say, hey. But this next word will truly blow your mind.
Oh my God.
To say yes in Swedish, you say, oh yeah, you literally just inhale oxygen and somehow the IKEA employees take that as an affirmative yes.
Uh-oh.
Wouldn't that lead to some misunderstandings?
Oh, yeah.
I'd be afraid to breathe in Sweden. What if I accidentally agreed to something heinous? But the most
Maybe it's the pitch. Maybe it's this. I gotta say, this is a pretty good episode. He's doing pretty well with this one. I like it a lot.
important words you'll need when speaking Swedish are fika and lagom, which both sound like ligma jokes. 99% of all Swedes talk about and do is fika. Whenever I talk to IKEA employees, they just want to fika with me, and as weird as it sounds, all it means is to get a coffee and a sweet treat.
Oh, that's funny because in Italian with the pronunciation it means vagina.
What the fika? That's what I do with your mother every morning at Starbucks. But what makes it different in Sweden is that it's a ritual, a scheduled part of the workday where everyone bonds and talks and wastes money. Screw that, they should be making their CEOs richer. Time is money. And then lagom is a word to describe just the right amount of something. You know how when you put your foot in the toilet and it's not too hot, not too cold, just the right temperature? Well, that's lagom. It's basically just the translation of lukewarm, but they extend it to things other than temperature. Now let's rapid fire some other vocab words that I find noteworthy. The American word good in Swedish is bra. 6 is sex. Speed
So that one is like Scottish a little bit.
is fart. Dot is prick. P is kiss. So
come
naturally
on.
you'll ask, what is kiss? Well, it's poos. End is sloot, and don't Google the words beans, prayers, and chef. And then finally for vocab, Swedes love...
Yeah, when that happens, with Japanese and Italian, that actually happens a lot. There are words that are absolutely normal in Japanese, but in Italian, they're swear words. And it's actually funny. Even in Sicilian specifically, there are some Sicilian really hardcore swear words that the Japanese use in their language constantly. And it's so freaking funny. I mean, eventually I desensitize, is that a word? Myself, and I stopped laughing about it. But it was difficult because, it's funny when that happens between languages. Oh my gosh. Anyways, we're going to skip the grammar. I usually skip the grammar. I want to see the shock factor though.
Danish. Now it's time to talk about shock factor.
Yeah.
How will native Swedish speakers react to you speaking their language as a foreigner? Well, if you walk up to a Swede in Sweden and you speak anything less than perfect native level
They'll
Ikeanese,
speak English.
they're going to switch to American.
I know.
Swedes speak better American than the Brits do, and that's a fact. Sweden is basically an American-speaking country at this point.
Right.
Now, when you speak Swedish with them, they're not going to scoff at you like the French or say something potentially a little rude like the Germans, but they're also not going to freak out like Polish or Chinese people. Swedes will not do backflips
Japanese.
when you try to shock them in their language. However, if you speak really, really like near perfect Swedish to the point where you're not even clockable as a foreigner and they think your name might be Bjorn, maybe they'll say something cool and want to fika with you, but probably not. Also, hilariously, if you're a native Swedish speaker from Finland and you speak perfect native Swedish to a Swede, they're going to be really shocked, and now they might actually do backflips. This is because many IKEA employees do not realize that there are native Swedish speakers in Finland. To put this into perspective, it would be like if a Spaniard started freaking out and doing backflips because a Mexican spoke fluent Spanish to them. I could talk about the Swedish language for a lot longer, but I think I've discussed it for a lagom amount of time.
Let's
so
go.
allow me to give Femboy Norwegian an official Language Simp certified rating on the Simp scale.
All right, guys, what do you guys think? I still think he's going to say Giga Chad. I'm in between Alpha and Giga Chad, but I think he's going for Giga Chad. Come on, it's got pitches. It's got the funny words. It's got stress. It's got it all.
On a scale of dog water to Giga Chad, I place the Swedish language reluctantly in the alpha tier. This might surprise you if you've watched me for years because
Man, I thought I was in between Alpha and Giga. That's fine. I was close enough. Close enough.
historically I was a hater of the Swedish language. But after diving into it for a bit,
Yeah,
I
it's
kind of
good.
like it.
Yeah,
It
me
doesn't
too.
unlock you very much DLC at all, especially since the NPCs who speak it are so good at American, but it's still a really fun lingo. Even without a lot of DLC, you could go speak it at Midsummer, but I don't know after that movie. Maybe just go to a Volvo dealership. Swedish sounds pretty goofy, but
Yeah, that movie was pretty intense. I watched it, but it was tough.
that's because it's not afraid to be what it is. A feminine Viking language spoken by gay reindeer whose lifestyle I fully support in the literal North Pole. Trying to learn how to pronounce it correctly will severely lower your IQ, and a lot of the words are too inappropriate to say out loud, but it's one of, if not the easiest language for Native Americans to learn, so go wild, Bruce. And most importantly, it'll prepare you to more easily learn Danish in the future. I think it'd be best to learn Danish first, but this was the Swedish episode. We'll talk about le glad me fleu language in the future.
Very awesome. Really good. I actually liked it. It was good. Good episode. Where do we put it? Where do we put it? I still think that Italian and French were his best episodes to date. I still think that. But it's pretty high. This was fun. This was actually quite fun.